it is that top spot that could definitely be changed moving forwards. Blank, are you back with me?
I hope so. Can you hear me? Is it all good?
No, I can't hear him, unfortunately. So if Blank is talking, I'm sure it's great. Have a go.
Right, well, apparently I'm speaking. I'm not sure, but we'll find out. And I'm going to fix this in the meantime, John. So you're going to have to go ahead.
All right, I'm sure we're going to try and fix these issues. I think I'm hoping Blank can hear me. Yeah, okay. I'm going to keep going with this one. Blank's going to work with production to fix that one. But we're going to get into the first Miramar of the day. El Pozzo playing path down towards the south side of Los Leones. And we're on board with LGD in the picture-in-picture. Who dropped out fairly early towards El Pozzo. A lot of teams have been isolated away from this position a couple of times before. We've seen that northeast side as well be isolated out of games as well, which it seems like it will be going for again in this game.
Okay.
Oh, I can hear you now. Hello.
Yes, apparently. Not sure what happened there. Everything was correct, but apparently everything needed to be muted and then unmuted, and then muted and unmuted again.
That normally does it.
That happens apparently, but here we are. These things occur. So you know that is just how the cookie crumbles. And sometimes you almost lose out on a chicken dinner when you had the best compound of the game, the whole game, as we saw from LGD versus Buddhadam. But again, Buddhadam, an extremely potent team, so you can kind of expect why that would happen. S2G though, Razy all in his lonesome versus R8. Let's see how this works.
Oh no, S2G. They didn't have the best of games last time around. Going down with the last player over towards that bridge, but seemingly here struggling. Unfortunately, the DBS is bearing down upon him. Gets one on the drop with the spray and the micros. He actually looks for a second as well. He's doing a hell of a job against R8, but I mean, it's just a little bit too much, even for Razy.
The fact that he's able to take down two, though, is quite impressive. And he had two nades, so maybe if that first one hit, we were going to see something spectacular, something magical happen during this, but unfortunately not to be. Especially with the DBS. Taking the DBS down first as well is probably the most important target to go for. The fact that he's able to hit that is quite something indeed. S2G though, 128 points. Again, it looks like those old habits are coming back to bite, unfortunately, Don. And BTR looking for that direct invite towards the grand finals. DRS also not far behind, but I do have my reservations about DRS at this point, John, just because of the way they played that last game out. I felt like something much better could happen. And again, I think this is a clear gameplay difference. Oh my goodness me, that is one hell of... Go for the DBS as well.
No, come on, be reasonable. Put that DBS away. Well, you saw the top 5 percentages there. That was quite an interesting stat, actually, because you look at what S2G had. They were, I think it was 38 point something, and then DRS coming in with a 53% top 5 finish.
Yep.
That's really, really interesting. Consider that S2G are 3rd place right now. The longer this tournament goes on, if they keep to those numbers, if they keep to those averages, DRS just will outstrip them. There is no question about it.
Yeah. It's great because this is the point I wanted to talk about anyway. But yeah, the thing with DRS and what you saw in that last game is they're very much an edge team, right? And if you go back on the Vods, if you go back and watch day 1 and day 2, I don't expect you to do that, guys, unless you're an absolute turbo PUBG Mobile fan, in which case, go for it.
Turbo geek. That's what I call it.
Turbo geek.
Like
Turbo
us.
Geek fan. But honestly, if you're looking back on those games, as I do, as I am a turbo nerd, you will see that DRS is going for a lot of these edge style plays. They don't often take the center, and I think this is where maybe the game plan has to change slightly for DRS, especially when they get the circle. They don't have to play that outer edge gameplay anymore. They can move further in towards the center, and I feel like they're a team with the chops on them, with players like Gyante as well as Killer, that actually be able to take out and find themselves some of these big wins. You will, however, see that top 5 percentage being quite high because they're very often in towards those later parts of the game, but not always grabbing themselves those big wins.
S2G, they do manage to get a point back in hand. Taking down one of the R8 players. Those are the only two teams who have lost a player so far. And it seems like S2G definitely made RA work a lot harder for their elimination than they did on the vice versa. And why not? I mean, S2G, 3rd place, RA, 15th.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, you look at S2G and that top 5% once again, which I'd love to see one more time because it was a brilliant little graphic that we didn't get to see for a very long time. But you look at that and it's just a case of when they win big, they really do rake in those points. But if they don't, they just go home. And that is just the way that S2G is currently playing. We saw that yesterday with their 2 big chicken dinners back to back. And then I think it was the 2nd place they're able to pick up on their Sandhawk versus Influence Kemen. Again, a very difficult team to contend with at the moment, right at the top of the lobby. But you look at that, and I think for S2G, they need to even out these averages, man, because they're becoming quite problematic for them. And again, it's those old habits that need to die essentially at this point in time, because they had such a strong start yesterday, heading center, being a bit more patient with it, not going for these wild plays, and instead using that gun skill, using that team fight power that they have on their side to their advantage in the late game, because these games do go on for a long time now, up towards that 30-minute mark on Miramar as well as Erangel. So if they can stick around, they really are a powerhouse in those last 10 minutes of the game, but often they're making these little mistakes here and there in the first 20 minutes, which are leading to them not having the best position when they get towards that position at the end of the map. I mean, if you're coming off the back of that, I would say personally, as a team, you're feeling a little bit rough around the edges. You know, I would be a little bit upset with my teammates. So unless they have the most unreal maturity, I think this game might be one of those ones where it's a bit quiet in the beginning and they just try and play out for as long as possible. This is a team that, you know, is fairly safe right now in 8th place with 107 points. But again, things could be safer going to the next day. But you are now also starting to see these drop-offs in a big way, John. I mean, you mentioned it, but it up to 160 points, Influence came in at 170, massive drop-off down towards S2G at 128 points. Similarly, down towards where we have our survival stage bracket, 11th to 12th place, you know, 74 to 69. You got 5 points there, but then it drops off in a big way from 10 points down to MTech Storm, and then another 9 points down towards Mad Bulls in 14th place. So a little bit more difficult for like these last 3 teams in the lobby, 14th, 15th, and 16th, to actually even jump up towards the survival stage. It will really take a massive day out of these teams to get them back and seen safe. And I think honestly, for me, it would just be Mad Bulls here that is the big question mark at the moment. The real in the lobby.
The real...
Yeah.
That's,
Greek philosopher style.
absolutely. I mean, they are trying to figure out what's going on. It should be, because it has not been ideal. As you say, bottom 5, this is not what we expect from a team like Mad Bulls, who were victims of consistency in the European Championship. Rolling on into this one. Quattro wants to get Rez out the blue. Should be fine in zone 2. Rez the saviour.
Happy days. Circle to center up down towards Chumacera. So a lot of this hillside down towards that south edge of Chumacera as well. LGD maybe looking to go for a similar win that they had on Miramar. I think it was day 1, I believe it was, towards the end of the day, or day 2. Where they were on top of the mountain, but I'm on the other side. That might be a play that they go for later on in the game, where it's kind of still uncertain whether it's going to lock in on that northern side of the circle or down towards the south. But we'll wait and see for that to pass. At the moment, LGD, after that last game, very happy with themselves. I think they've been on a consistent uptrend at the moment, which is great to see from a team that was very far down the rankings towards the beginning of this mini format tournament.
I think we're sort of in this. I love these middle parts of tournaments, right? Because there's so many teams that are definitely having that potential to get into the top 3 at this stage. I'm kind of looking at 3rd place all the way down to pretty much 9th for Nigma Galaxy, sat currently 27 points behind 3rd place in 9th place. And that is a really tight bunch. That is a really tight peloton towards those middle of the tables. Obviously, you've got the streak out front runners from Influence Kemen and Buradam right now, but it is only halfway through this tournament, there and thereabouts. We've had one extra game, but there is definitely time for any of those teams in that positions 3rd through 9th to be able to make it. And I really find that nice and exciting in terms of the dynamics that brings to all of these engagements.
Absolutely. I think that, you're looking at a lot of these teams at the moment who do have a chance to send themselves upwards. Again, this is only the second half, so there is still time to play around with, and there is 100% a possibility that Buradam, Influence Kemen both drop off the track just a little bit, in which case S2G might be able to sneak their way back in, but I doubt that. I think S2G is a team that is currently hanging on by the coattails of yesterday, essentially. But there are teams underneath them that have had some decent performances, seem to have some improvements going on that could make their way into that top 3. Survival stage is where it's at, though, at the moment, and I think that when you're looking at that side of the match, there is many teams that would like to see themselves up towards that top 3. You want confidence going to that survival stage. I would say for Group Red, this is probably the most difficult time to be dropping into the survival stage. If you're in Group Yellow, for instance, you're in the survival stage. Next week, you're instantly then over towards that survival stage tournament. So you hot off the heels of gameplay. For these teams, they are going to be getting a little bit cold in the meantime.
The Infinity rolling up on Tizzy, but they've been swung a doozy at him as Tarmen reigns on into the fight as well. They will be dispatched, but there is a high angle from a teammate to try and suppress the Infinity from going for these full flushes. Chicken is on in as well, but he gets cooked out of the engagement. Mela and Newsy active for the Infinity right now. Godtunny bleeding out. Logan with a more replenished health bar, but MTech Storm going to give up the ghost on this fight.
Not really worth it for them at the moment, John. I mean, with the one player knocked and only one player now remaining, it's going to be a bit difficult for them. Tizzy also out. Might want to go for a little bit more, but the Infinity seems to be in a really good spot. It'd be difficult to find anything. They have an idea where this player is as well. Soko heading further down towards that southwest side does open up these things when it comes to playing on that high ground. This is to the south of this engagement, in fact. There's a lot of open ground. It's hilly. There's a lot of ditches here. It's rolling valleys. Weird places to finish this game, honestly. Just purely, there's so many different variables that can happen this map. And also, there's not a huge amount of priority compounds, and you won't find those out until maybe zone 4 or 5.
Box under pressure with the Bigatron line of fire. It seems like Bigatron have been fairly solid at maintaining positions towards the edges of these circles. It looks like they've really found their feet in that sort of aspect over these last couple of games. That's the impression that I've got from them. When we've seen them fairly consistently as a unit together in the late game. They do go down together sometimes, but I feel like that's why we are seeing them towards the top.
Sure, I think when you look at BTR, they're certainly having fun with it still. I mean, Luxy playing some cool little greedy plays here and there. But again, it'd feel like a much more competent team overall. What I do like is they're doing something similar to what DRS maybe need to work on, which is a case of they play edge when edge is available to them. And if center is available to them, they'll take that center position. I think that just comes with experience throughout the years of PUBG Mobile that they've played. They're very quickly adapting to this type of style of map, type of lobby. Next, Soga heads up towards that northern side. Massive amount of high ground towards the middle of this one.
A lot of teams going to be impactful on this fight. Nigma Galaxy losing Freak Hamodi there. Probably on quite a difficult angle to hold. I mean, yeah, you're just going to get peppered away, Team K. So taking Nigma Galaxy out of the mix. And remember, this is the Nigma Galaxy that finished in, what was it, 2nd place after day 1. They have really had a downward trend that has been picked up by teams like LGD and by Bigatron. Seems like that as well. A lovely nade over the top from Break to find Gen Foster. And BTR will lose one of their players. Not ideal, especially after I said that they didn't do that much.
I mean, Gen Foster's usually the one to go down first anyway, considering he plays so up close and personal. He certainly plays a dangerous game for himself, and I think BTR were hoping to see if they can get initial pick off and then catch the players they came out to go for the res. In this case, though, BTR just has to make a mad dash to a position in the circle that might give them some more benefit towards the late game, but this is over completely open ground. Looks like one of the vehicle's wheels got popped out, in which case DRS can continue to take some shots their way. Similarly, so can Box, and this is most likely where BTR will have to remain for a fair amount of the oncoming circles.
DRS again, sweeping out this east side. Bigatron moved down the hill. Central for the Infinity. On the left-hand side of the road, or the west side of the road. As normally known. Buraram suffering, unfortunately, again in this engagement with Team Queso. At the bottom of the tables, they've had a little bit of an impact here. First of all, Nigma Galaxy, and now moving their attention over towards Buraram. Tiger is still active though, and you can never count him out. You back him in a corner, certainly fierce. Bigatron, having shots sent their way from Box, from across the way from DRS. They are really out in the open here, and it's a difficult move they've tried to make. And it has kind of crumbling down at this stage. Misery, last standing for the squad.
I mean, if DRS is playing their cards right and they see how this one's unfolding and they know that BTR is that team, they could easily have allowed Box to get into that position without taking shots so they can eliminate BTR, who are currently in front of them. Mad Bulls, they lose effect. Now, Monkey has to be consistently good with his nades, and usually finds at least one of them. This might be time for Mad Bulls to at least find something in this game. This is an isolated engagement from them, so if they can't win this one out, you're looking, things are going to get slightly dicey. That's a good nade over the top. Teak sent backwards. They will have to bring effect back into the fight, though.
Come on, Mad Bulls, show us what you're made of. We've been waiting all tournament. 15th place is unbecoming. They run around the edge of the smoke. The backup from 6 not going to be able to find that sightline. Oh, dear. The lineup was good. Look at that. Titan with the good spread. Skills' last player standing. Hang on a minute. He's brought effect back into the fold. The heal does come through. 2 players down for Mad Bulls. Only the 1 for Titan. So 3 players up and on the mound. They're playing close. The Mad Bulls might be able to look at one another if effect can get a shot on the side, if they can win their ones, but they will not be able to do it. And again, the Mad Bulls just fall flat. Down in 16th place now.
Not a single shot found there either onto any of them. I mean, Skills, it's depressing to watch because this is not the Mad Bulls that I'm used to. It feels like someone else is playing in their shoes over the last 3 days. Honestly, I would say at this point, and sadly as well to Mad Bull fans around the world, that I don't think that by tomorrow they'll be in the survival stage. I think this could just be a case of one of our most exciting upcomers in PMGC being left right at the gate.
There was a moment there where Sandstorm was head in hands. All right, we're at the bottom of the tables, but they managed to pick up 2 eliminations, and they did jump ahead of Mad Bulls, so he's all right for now. He's wiping the sweat off the brow. He goes again on this one. 2 players alive for R8 on the north side. They're currently trapped between LGD and the remnants of S2G. It might rhyme, but it is not going to be pleasant on the ears for R8. I'm sure those bullets will be ringing out fairly soon. Aegon XI8 playing in that central position after they managed to mount the top of the hill there. Everybody's going to be looking their way, though.
It's some really interesting terrain for the rest of the game now because you have all these teams up towards that northeast having to cross the road. You can see it there in front of you. This causes problems for many players. I8 might be able to hold out DRS. They consistently are playing this edge playstyle. I think this is where it makes sense considering they weren't able to immediately get over to this side of the circle so quickly. They will have to now contend with Team Queso as well as I8 on the top side. Titans have spotted out the players from R8, but the shots are coming back, and that's from Hamzy G from S2G, in fact.
North side, spotted out. That's quite the distance there. That's about that's almost a 400-meter shot. That very nice to be able to tap that one away. LGD seeing the top of that hill. This big bunker that they're currently sharing with R8. This ridge line that's sort of isolating it away from a lot of those teams playing near the roadside. LGD want to play on this north.
Nade's a bit short, but the Molotov is good. That'll be the remainder of R8 now down. CCC hitting the flames. Beautiful stuff. Delta scarily close to Screams, in fact.
Ooh. Rattles off a couple shots for Reyes from Team Queso. Scream will get fallen in response. Delta, with rules up the top down, wants to have a little bit of a maneuver to try and keep them in this. Papi Potro very, very much split, leaving Reyes pretty much alone here. We'll be able to control some of the sight lines, but Titans are looking out this way. DRS are moving in to put the pressure on. They want this res. They should be able to stay up as 4 once they get it. And this south side is looking to be there. Titans might have something to say about it, but in the meantime, it's 4 rivals clashing with bots over on the north side. They haven't even crossed the road yet. And this hurdle is once more needing to be cleared. A 2v1 right now between the squads, and 4 rivals heavily suffering, but so are Box as well. Trisme at the back, last standing for the squad. 1 player alive, 4 rivals. Pui close and up to the vehicle. Bullets ringing through. A smoke there wants to bring Break back into the box and play as 2 from here on out, but teammates are bleeding out fast, and Infinity might even be looking for a position on the alternate side of the road. They drop a vehicle there to give them some cover for later.
I mean, they would love to get... LGD would love to have got into that engagement. Ayala tries to move up with the DBS, can't get quite close enough to make anything happen. And Papi Potro has been playing this backstop for so long, but DRS have been holding him out the entire time with some very good awareness on their part. It was coming crumbling down slightly for DRS as soon as they got that high ground removed from them by Reyes, but other than that, no, it was not meant to be. 4 rivals step up towards Trisme. No medical supplies on board. Can he make it happen? Has to pull out the second weapon, and that's it. Trisme, clutch player from Box, able to take out the final player of 4 rivals, but it will be a nade to finish it off. But 8 limbs, still happy with that.
Really, really happy with that for Box. You'll take those, you certainly will. Shots over towards S2G, they only had 2 left. They're down to 1. Hamzy G against the Infinity will be felled as well. A nice result. The Infinity have been playing in this central compound for a long, long time. 6 eliminations to show for it. 3 players are alive, but now they're on the edge of the circle, and LGD might have the inside track.
I mean, LGD have been, again, very slow, very cautious, playing this 2-2. S2G were able to take down one of their players, but they quickly were able to get their feet planted in, stabilize just a little bit, but they have to deal with Titans now, who also have some control over on this side. Very open ground in front of them, a couple of rocks to play around with, but AXA, with this fantastic angle down towards them from the high ground, it will be difficult to dislodge him from this position. And again, what we have to look at here for LGD is the amount of space that they have to cover in the next 7 minutes. It is going to be difficult for them. What they would ideally like would be a northwest shift on the circle. Not really anyone in this circle has the most dominant position. It will be down to how each team plays out their rotate and how this next circle operates.
Got XI8 putting nades up to the north towards the Infinity, but that's beautiful from Logan. From downtown, lands it, fades Ghost, and another one to follow it up.
Actually nasty.
Oh, that was a Molotov. Okay, I thought that was another nade. I thought that was going to be a 1-2 punch. Don't even need to see him. Smoke blooming out wide, giving a little bit of cover for a route in for the Infinity to sweep down towards the south. It seems like that's what they want to go for. Egonexay playing in those foothills. DRS on the backside of that mound to their left. Titan, 2-2 split right now on the west side. LGD trying to control from the north.
You've got to be proud of the Infinity. The amount of times they got into the late game so far from what was a horrific start of the day on day one. All the way into day two, in fact. They started getting some big wins, which was really important for their scoreline. And for the Infinity, who have taken first places across the board this year, it really would be a massive shame for them to go out here in Group Red in the first week.
Titan moving up and over the hill. Getting those sightlines and establishing a little bit more control over towards DRS, towards the Infinity as well. And LGD, who are just plinking away here. Egonexay on the outside of the circle, trying to move forwards, but cut short by DRS on their maneuvers. Killer playing forwards and up the hill. And I think we're going to be down to LGD, DRS, and Titan in a matter of moments.
Circle doesn't really favor anyone here, and LGD is still able to play from this little lip at the moment. MVM sent over that side to ensure that Titans don't get the outside track on them. Looks like they're trying to rotate behind, but MVM was able to put a stop to that. They have vehicles, they have some cover to play around with. Suki has to hit those shots over towards the Infinity. Immediately backs off. 5 nades as well, so we'll be able to maybe stop these players from moving in. But now, again, it's Titans who have always been this big problem for LGD throughout. Set up in the vehicle, they have high ground over the top of them. Can move further in. This is one of the small compounds that has been remaining in the circle for a long while. No one's been really able to touch it because getting up to it would require you to be open towards these sight lines. But at this point in the game, I think Titans can be quite comfortable that this side of the map is cleared out. We have just teams on the north, west, east, south. It's the full compass.
To me, it feels like either Titans or DRS. Taking a look at the lay of the land, that's who I'm backing. I'm backing that south side rather than the north here. Egonexay feels like they're a little bit trapped. LGD, they have that ridge line to crest. And against so many sight lines, it's going to be brutal. There's a little bit more cover ahead of DRS, and Titan have the compound.
Do worry slightly for a lot of these teams. Again, another circle comes in, centers up, everyone has to move inwards. LGD were happy with their position on the northern side, still provided them some cover. As you can see, this is just the basin that everyone will be heading into soon. It's going to be full combat. Titans have to leave their compound, but will try to do as much damage as possible before vacating, pulling out the sledgehammer, tearing down the walls here.
Egonexay, the only team with 3 left. And it looks like they're trying to hedge their bets. Split themselves off to cover. They're not really going to be able to claim a lot of sight lines here. Instead, they're just going to try and keep their heads down. Valuable tire pop coming through from YZ. But he's backing off. They're not going aggressive. They're repositioning and they're getting ready their move. They're making ready their march into this next circle.
CCC taking shots up towards DRS. IA also chiming in. With the players going down, and that will delay them massively. So important for DRS to be able to get out, but making the first move, they were the ones that made the sound, and everyone was waiting underneath the rocks, ready to strike.
DRS with 2 now. LGD pick off a Titan. With 4 of themselves alive, they now have the major advantage in this circle. Nobody else at full force with Puncher down. That leaves Titan at 3. LGD nearly take a knock over towards CCC, but do manage to squeak that away behind the smoke. Get out of danger, get out of dodge. DRS on 2, playing in the blue zone. And look at that, 2-3 teams now taking shots out their way. It's difficult. They didn't manage to make it to the cover in front of them. They haven't been able to play around those trees or get to the ridge lines ahead. And Egonexay, they have been keeping their nose clean.
This is just wonderful map knowledge coming through from LGD, and now it's time to just try and send central as possible for LGD. With the vehicles they're able to hold on to, with the cover that they set up, they'll be able to outlast a lot of these teams coming out from the blue. I8 will finish off the final members of the RS. Titans, though, spot at least one of those players. In the meantime, they've got troubles of their own as one player is knocked, trying to bring it back to the feet, but that will delay them quite a bit.
Oh.
That's a great nade, and CCC just has to throw one more, but only one more in the pocket has to make it count.
Will be able to find both of them as it bursts in the air. Slivers of HP found, and he picks up the 7-10 split. Cut down on the back as Teak rains hell down from the top.
Oh my!
1-2 fall to the crosshairs. Teak absolutely furious about that. Will not let it lie, and LGD now turn the tables. They're down to 1. YZ cannot afford to be burnt away here. Forced out on the res. The zone will be closing, but they have a central position. Gets one res through. Teak not so lucky. Trying to get cut down out in the open on the cross.
Ooh, Ghost.
A nade in from Ghost. Aegon XI8 looking to spoil the day for LGD, but they are sticking these reses. 2 players alive for Titan, 2 for Aegon XI8. LGD recouped 3.
Still with 3 here, it will all matter about the nades. Maybe UZM's nade was better placed over towards LGD.
There it is.
As YZZ Elite picks up 1, that's both of them down. 3v2, John.
LGD with a chance for the back-to-back here, Blank, to put themselves in a great stead for the tournament tables. Aegon XI8 with a blinder of a game as well. 4 eliminations so far, guaranteed second place. 3 players alive for LGD, though. They know exactly what they're up against. They know what they've got in the pocket. 11, and they're going to rack up that big 12 elimination chicken dinner for a back-to-back victory. They dominate on Erangel, they follow it up and dominate on Miramar. The decisions are on point.